your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal here for you on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, as well, and the both in Syracuse, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and of course on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location, and their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building with a double-decker cafe out on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, with now expanded parking, welcoming you in to Manlius. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal and fill your cup up right today. With that being said, we have plenty coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we are on the road. You see the basketball behind me because we are covering the ACC tournament as well as the Big East tournament right here in the Big Apple, and very excited to be in the Barclays as well as in the Garden. So a lot of great stuff coming up, including American Athletic Conference tournament coverage for men's basketball, as we'll be connecting with them as well and have the opportunity to speak with those teams that are out in Texas. So a lot of great stuff coming up here where sports meets life. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's popping. We're going to start off this Wednesday as we always do. Every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. is Dolphin Time, and so Dolphin Dive featuring Liz Beville will be happening in just a moment here as Liz Beville joins us from the number one ranked nationally women's lacrosse team for NCAA Division II, and that is your Moyne Dolphin program. Moyne Dolphins women's lacrosse, after beating the number 14th ranked and number one ranked team in the nation, is now number one in the nation themselves just a couple games into the season. We'll hear from Liz and her incredible story coming up with so much and so many layers, and I'm very excited to have Liz on the show, and Louie as well, and I'm very excited for that. With that being said, coming up right after Liz Beville around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, a few minutes after, Otis Hill is going to be joining us, Syracuse Orange Basketball alum and White Plains, New York native, will be joining us to speak on all things Cuse here inside of tourney time, and on the day that Syracuse gets to play their first game of the ACC tournament as they advance to round 2 automatically, and as the 9 seed will take on 8-seeded Florida State for the right to play number 1 seed Duke here in Brooklyn, New York. And then we'll get into my conversations from the first round of the ACC with NC State, Clemson, Louisville, and Georgia Tech. My Q&As with their players and coaches will be rounding out the morning here on this video between 10 a.m. and 10:20 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll air all of those conversations, and then we'll flip into a new video for the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Mike Sofko will be joining me for the rest of Hour 1 around 10:20 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub in coverage of all things going on, big things going on here. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Ridley, and so much more. So make sure you stay locked in for that. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. And when we spin back around, we will be here with Liz Beville on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports truly meets that thing called life. Thanks for being with us.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family friendly. Some family friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. So happy to have you here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, watching on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT as well. You're, of course, listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com. This, of course, is our edition of Dolphin Dive, part of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins. And it is my honor and my privilege to put a spotlight in this edition of Dolphin Dive on the Moyne Dolphins women's lacrosse team and their leader, Liz Beville. So with that being said, Liz, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Absolutely. And Liz, you know, first and foremost, just to bring me back to the beginning for you, when did you fall in love with the sport of lacrosse?
Oh, early. We're going way back. My dad has been a head coach for men's programs my entire life. So I've been going to games since I was born, basically. I was the kid that would sit out in the cold and watch the game while my mom and my sister sat inside the car in the parking lot. So I've loved this sport for a very long time. Was fortunate to move to the central New York area right before high school. So lacrosse, you know, obviously is so big in this community, in this area, that I really developed a little bit more of a passion for it once I was around people that loved it just as much as I did. So, you know, I would say it started very early, but was definitely enhanced once my family moved to this area.
And, you know, when you speak on the enhancement of moving to this area, just what you can say about how central New York and upstate New York in general really has been a hotbed for lacrosse.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at our roster and 90, if not 100% are from central New York. So we have a big class coming in next year. We only have one of those kids from out of state. Our current freshman on our team, it's the same situation. They're from central New York. Syracuse, local high schools, Rochester areas becoming a bigger draw for us as well. But there's a lot of talent here, and we have no problem keeping them at home and bringing them to the heights. And good things are happening for us when we recruit Central New York kids. So we're going to keep going until we need to make a change.
You know, and I want to take a look at that because, you know, I've had the opportunity to speak with a couple of them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Allison Cole coming from CNS and Sarah Hunter coming from Baldwinsville, they played each other in the Section 3 Class AA championship this past season, and now they'll be teammates. And just kind of the uniqueness of that is, you know, being each other's foe and now fighting for each other. and we got to do a Dolphin Dive specials with Allison and Sarah. So just what you could say about, maybe specifically what they bring to the team and the fun of having adversaries now become teammates.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot of places. Again, we recruit local. So we've got West Jenny and JD and West Jenny FM rivalries. We've got them all over the place. But once they get to campus, they're Lemoyne and they're the Dolphins and they're there for the same mission and same goal. So I think they come together pretty quickly. Speaking on Allison and Sarah specifically, just two great coachable kids that I think are going to come in and make a great impact. Sarah, I think, could have played at a Division I level if she wanted to, but I think with her coming to Lemoyne, she's going to make a little bit more of an immediate impact. So she's got a great coach, a Lemoyne Dolphin, and Meg Tabor at Beville, and I think she'll be ready to come play for us in that midfield position. And then Allison coming from CNS, again, another powerhouse in Syracuse. And we're always looking to rebuild and to reload our defensive unit, and she's going to do great things for us there too.
Yeah, and like you said, almost 100% of the roster as I'm looking at it, right now with players coming from like you had mentioned, a lot from West Genesee and CNS, Marcellus, as well as some of the other places at West Hill area and whatnot, and JD and FM. Just what you can say about, and Bishop Grimes as well, Canandaigua. I know you went down to Maine Endwell for Reagan. So just what you can say about that. I know you've obviously spoken about the importance of lacrosse in the area, but when you look up and down this roster, Lemoyne has such a commitment, not just in women's lacrosse, but in general. There's such a commitment to building up the community, and a lot of the players that we get to see, these student athletes on your team and on other teams at Lemoyne, are right there in our backyard, and so their families and loved ones get to become Dolphins right after they're at CNS or West Jenny or Baldwinsville or wherever it may be. So there's a lot to be said about building up the community and obviously farming the talent right here in our backyard.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on with the parents, right? So we have such a great support system. They come to every game possible. They are, in the parking lot 2 hours before the game, and they're hanging out after. They travel. We had a great fan base down in Baltimore this past weekend with us. So the parents really get an opportunity to get involved because they're local and they're not having to travel miles and miles or hours and hours to come to their kids' games. So I think that's been a great addition, I would say. I'm calling it an addition because we're recruiting the student athlete. We're not recruiting the parent, but that kind of is the bonus and it comes with it. Again, I think that the type of kid in the central New York area is maybe a little bit different than a kid from a different state, or if we take the Midwest, for example, they haven't played as long as a kid from central New York. Most of our girls have had a stick in their hands since they were in kindergarten, first grade. So, there's a lot of value, and we certainly aren't not looking elsewhere. We do want to bring in people from out of state and from different areas, but it just so happens that we have a lot of talent here too. So we're gonna, like I mentioned before, we're gonna keep going right in our backyard as long as we can.
Here with Liz Beville on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of this Dolphin Dive special. The Dolphins in Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That special is coming to you every single month. When you got hired, Liz, you got hired by the interim director of athletics, Tim Fenton, back on August 19th, 2019. Just bring me into that, where there was this kind of bridge between Matt Bassett, may he rest in peace, and Bob Beretta, that you got hired within that middle ground.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that Lemoyne went through that process with an interim athletic director. I know it's not the easiest thing to go through. I had been at Colgate as an interim head coach, so I was in a little bit of a strange position. Here's my dog Louie; he's got to be in everything. So I knew that Colgate wasn't the perfect spot for me, and had started looking elsewhere. And going to Jamesville DeWitt for high school. Lemoyne is right in our backyard. You know, my parents still live 12 minutes from campus, and I had a best friend that went to Lemoyne and played lacrosse. So it was always a school that I had followed. My sister played at Franklin Pierce, which is in the NA10. So I had followed the division, followed the school for a number of years, and was just lucky to be able to have Tim Fenton, you know, hire me and give me a shot.
When you go through the interim, like you said, that you experienced at Colgate, just what that taught you, because you know, it's one thing to be a head coach, and then when you put that interim right there in front of it, it's like, am I a bridge to the next person? Am I just here to keep the status quo, or are they actually going to look at me? You know, different people go through different things, but the interim is a very interesting model, and
Yep.
It's a very interesting place to be in. So what did you take away from that?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the easiest position. I think I was 27 at the time too, so relatively young to be taking over a Division I program like that. For me, it was, you know, I think that I went into that program and got hired as an assistant, and it was a tool and a stepping stone for me to eventually become a head coach and get some experience coaching Division I. So I looked at it more as, hey, I'm going to do my job, and if they look at me for this position in the future and want to keep me here, great. And if not, you know, that's okay too. And I've got some great experience here. So we were fortunate to be able to go to the Patriot League playoffs for the first time in a number of years while I was there. But it was a challenging season. It was challenging. It was hard to build quick relationships and to build that quick trust. And so it definitely was a challenge for me, but I learned so much from it, and good things and bad things I took away, and it made me a better coach at the end of the day.
Why do you think you've been so successful coaching? I mean, you come to Lemoyne and you had a unique start with an interim director of athletics hiring you, and then you had your first season shut down due to COVID. You were 4-0, and then this past season 13-1, so 17-1 overall. Why do you think you've had so much success in those first 18 games, and what would you attribute it to that you're able to hit the ground running and like you said, at Colgate be successful and then be successful here?
Well, hey, I just coach. I'm not on the field doing what we need to win games. So, you know, I really have to give credit to our student athletes. They have just bought in, and I feel lucky, and I say it every time someone asks this question. When I walked into the program at Lemoyne, I just felt like there was something special about the group of girls that we had. They were passionate, they were respectful, they wanted to win, you know, and they were going to do whatever it took to get to that and to accomplish that goal. So, you know, I think with building some trust and building relationships very early on, that was a big emphasis for my staff, was to get to know these girls, get to know their recruiting process, why they were at Lemoyne. We were able to accomplish a lot in a short amount of time. You know, again, that COVID season was short, but we did go 4-0 during that because we emphasized that relationship piece of things from a very early start when I took over. You know, and then moving forward, again, the girls have just really bought into what we've been challenging them to do as a coaching staff. And I think the last part of that is to just enjoy every day. Lacrosse is such a fun game to play, and you know, it's definitely a grind in the preseason in the central New York weather, but we have girls that embrace that, and they want to have fun. They want to have lacrosse practice be the best part of their day. And I think as coaches, we go out and that's what we do. We say this is the best part of our day, and they're able to follow suit. So, you know, again, give a lot of the credit to the student athletes and the type of players that I inherited in this program, because they've done a heck of a job.
And, you know, and seeing these student athletes do what they've done, and we talked about recruiting the area and that you're, you know, open to outside of the area. You bring a lot of, you know, keep a lot of talent home and whatnot. But bringing all of that together, what is your coaching model? How do you foundationally, kind of what are those pillars that you put up to say, okay, you know what, if I'm going to run a program, this is what it's going to look like? What does that look like?
Yeah, this is always a tough question, especially when incoming kids will ask you this. I think for us, the biggest things are just respect, higher standard, holding yourself to a higher standard, both on and off the field, in the classroom, in the community. I think that kind of goes along with a lot of Lemoyne's values just in general. But I'm not a big, I barely use my whistle at practice. I have a loud voice. If I need to say something, I will. We don't do a lot of like yelling, screaming. That's just not our style. We have conversations. We set the expectation early, and we have an expectation that that's going to be followed. So I think for us, again, you go back to having fun every day. If you can go out there and have fun and know what the expectation is and do your job, you're going to be successful in our program. So that's really what, I would say is kind of our style of coaching. We have a lot of conversations in the office and off the field, and we stay on the girls about their academics as well. So there's just this standard that we try to uphold, and they've done a great job with it so far.
And seeing what they've done so far this season, at the time that we're talking, you played the 14th ranked team in the nation in Mercy College and the number 1 ranked team in the nation in Lindenwood University. Mercy was at home, a 10-9 victory to start off the season, and then you went out to Sparks, Maryland to play Lindenwood and defeated them 18-13. Those 2 victories have put you in a situation now where you are now ranked the top women's lacrosse team in the country for NCAA Division II as we look at the Intercollegiate Women's Lacrosse Coaches Association and that poll. Just what it means to you obviously starting off the season 2-0 no matter who you play. I know I'm sure you're happy about that, but beating 2 ranked teams, including the number 1 ranked team in the country, and then taking their spot as the top ranked team in the country so early on in the season means what for Lemoyne women's lacrosse?
There's more work to do. So pressure is on now. That's really what it comes down to is, we set a mission this season to play some of the best teams in the country, and because we want to be number 1 in May. So right now, while the ranking is great, it means nothing. May is when those rankings matter, and at the end of the season and when the NCAA tournament happens. But the pressure is certainly on to stay at the top now. Yeah. And to continue beating the teams that we should be beating. We have a great competitive schedule. The NE10 is one of the most competitive conferences in Division II. So I think when I looked the other day, we played 10 ranked opponents this year in the top 25. So out of our 17 games, 10 are ranked opponents, which is, that's hard. That's very hard to do for any team. So we're just really excited, and we want to continue staying at the top as long as we can. We've got a great matchup this weekend. We turn around and play the number 2 team. So we're just excited to continue playing. And again, that ranking is great, but at the end of the day, we just want to be the number 1 team in May. That's what really matters to us.
Yeah, you look at, like you talked about the NE10, how difficult that schedule is. Mm-hmm. Before going into that, your 4 non-conference games are all ranked teams. Like I said, 14th ranked Mercy College, when you played them, number 1 ranked Lindenwood. You have number 2 ranked University of Indianapolis that you mentioned, and then number 11 Roberts Wesleyan. 2 of those games at home, 2 of them on the road. Just bring me into this non-conference schedule. Like you said, you want to be the number 1 ranked team in May, so you want to challenge this team. But playing 4 teams ranked in the nation's top 14 for NCAA Division II women's lacrosse, that is no slouch, including the top 2 teams this season. So just bring me into assembling a schedule that challenges your team so much so early.
Well, I said it before, if you want to be the best, you have to play the best team. So we can't expect to win a national championship if we're just going to play teams that aren't ranked or that are not going to give us a challenge. So certainly Mercy was a lot closer than we had anticipated. They played a great game. They had a great game plan against us. But we were able to walk away with that, and that's a huge regional win for us. So, that game, Roberts Wesleyan, are 2 region games. Those will make a big difference when it comes to NCAA tournament selection time. And then Lindenwood and UIndy are the other top teams. Going into it, they were 1 and 2. So, those are the teams that were at the top, and we were under them. And if we want to be the best and we want to take that number one spot, we've got to do what we need to do to beat them. Unfortunately, Lindenwood is transitioning to Division I, so that could be the one and only game. Maybe we'll see them again in playoffs in May. But it was just a great challenge for us, and we learned so much. And practices become very focused, I guess I would say is one of the best words I would use, because we're learning the good, we're learning the bad, we're learning what we need to fix, and we're learning how to follow a scout. We're learning how to watch film, in the right way to really prepare us for the next game, the next challenge. So there's just so much to take away from playing, some really high-ranked opponents early on. And again, we're going to look back at these games in the end of April, in the early May, and say, hey, what did we do to win these games? And hopefully we've gotten better since then too. So, it's a challenge, but it's one that the girls were ready to accept head on. And we've got to just keep it rolling this week.
That coming from Moyne Dolphins women's lacrosse head coach Liz Beville here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Football Studios for this edition of Dolphin Dive. Liz, to schedule these games, and like you said, if you want to be the best, then you have to go up against the best. You have to challenge yourself in that respect. What is your recruiting message when potential student athletes are talking with you about who you're going to play and how you're going to schedule? And secondly, why do you trust these young women so much? Because some coaches like to have a little buffer, little like make you feel good games, and no, you went right into the fire immediately.
Yeah, so to answer your first question with recruits, we want to bring in players who want to win. We don't want to bring in players who are okay with just sitting on the bench or that just want to come to college and be on a team. That's not our goal. Our goal is to compete for any 10 and national championships every year. So we're very transparent with that, and we want to make sure we're bringing in the type of person that's willing to work for it. I mentioned, I think earlier, we had 6 weeks of preseason. So that's with only one scrimmage in there. So that's a lot of time preparing, grinding, running, getting stick work in. Doing everything you can to get ready for these games. So we're transparent in what we are trying to accomplish. And, I think with the schedule, it's exciting. I think as an 17, 18-year-old, if you hear that's your schedule, you're like, wow, like this is a big deal. So, we let them know early what our goals are and what our mission is. And then your second question, you ask, how do I trust these girls to be ready to go? I think it goes back to, specifically for this year, it goes back to just what happened at the end of last year with us. We unfortunately were not selected for the NCAA tournament and had every expectation that we would be. So we've had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. And I think that has really driven a lot of our success so far this season. And will continue in the next few games. But I think that this group is just really special. And from our fall practices and having these fifth years back, I think that's a huge part of it and why we trust them. We have All-American Sid Mahar and Erin McMullen back for a fifth year. Lauren Ferris, who plays some key components for us and key roles in the midfield. She came back, and then the transfer in Gigi Vasile, who transferred to us from Duke. These are leaders, and these are people who have really gotten the team to buy into everything we're doing. And so, the trust has been there from the fall that we can get the job done.
You win the NE10 regular season title, 6-time in Lemoyne history for women's lacrosse. You do that in the Southwest Division. You only lose one game in 14 tries. Like you said, you were surprised you weren't selected to be in the NCAA tournament. Looking back over it, does anything make sense to go 13-1 and be this effective in the NE10 and not get the tournament?
So I've had some conversations in the last few months with a couple different representatives, and the biggest thing, unfortunately, was that they decreased the tournament size from 16 to 12 teams, so that hurt us a little bit. And then the fact that we just played what you mentioned, the Southwest Division schedule wasn't as competitive as the Northeast Division schedule. So our strength of schedule was really poor last year compared to some other teams. And, at the end of the day, we needed to beat Adelphi that third time, which is a bummer. But I think if we had beat them, maybe things would be a little bit different. But it's definitely frustrating, but I do have an understanding now, and it just, it kind of is one of those things that is what it is, and we've got to move on. And clearly we've got some big games to focus on, so we're certainly moving forward with everything. But, at the end of the day, it's definitely still a big frustration, especially after, my first season at Moyne, as you mentioned, very early, got cut short to COVID, and then last year happened. So we've got a mission this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, not only did you defeat Lindenwood, ranked the number one team in the nation this season, not only did you defeat them, but they're transitioning to a Division I program from Division II. Just what that means to you to have that feather in your cap as you step forward in recruiting with the current team that you have, just in general, to say, hey, we beat a team that's good enough to be D1 and is going to be D1, and in their final go around as a Division II school, as a number one ranked team in the country, we took care of business. Just what that does to build morale, what it does to build your program, and what it does to extend out to the future of the program.
Sure. So we actually play a lot of Division I programs. Our preseason scrimmage was against Cornell this spring. We'll probably continue that moving forward. And then in the fall, we played a lot of Division I teams. We played Niagara, Siena, St. Bonnie's, Canisius. So we're trying to challenge ourselves all the time. This win obviously was a big one this past weekend, and they are going Division I. So I think that was kind of, mentioned before the game. Hey, let's kind of like make sure they know that Division II, we're the top, that's what we wanted to kind of send that message. But with just the competitiveness of the schedule and again, being in the central New York area, we are able to play a lot of Division I programs that are local and, are good competition for us in the fall. So we really get a feeling of where we're at, what we need to continue working on, or where we're doing really well. So, we tell recruits that all the time, this is what we do in the fall, and we're looking to challenge ourselves at any point in the year, whether that's a fall or a preseason scrimmage or right when we get started in season. We're always looking to challenge so that we can make sure we're ready to go at the end of May.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible. I mean, this entire conversation has been about you never shy away from a challenge. You not only welcome them when they come, but you ask them to come. Yeah. And have you always been that way as a person on and off the field, that you don't wait for the challenge to come to you, you go to the challenge?
Well, I think I had just such a great experience playing at SUNY Cortland. My team was 4-time SUNYAC champions, and we went to 4 Final Fours. And so I had such a great college experience. And what I learned from all of that I've taken as a coach is you have to challenge yourself. If you don't play these tough games, and it was the same thing when we were at Cortland. Our spring breaks were not spring breaks. We were in, Pennsylvania or Boston. We were playing tough teams early in the season, and then we would play our conference schedule and then be ready to go for May. So I think that I really took it away, then I took that lesson away from college, but also, I think I have a dad who's been a head coach his whole life. And so I've kind of been able to look at him and what he's done with his programs. And he did win a national championship in 2009 with the SUNY Cortland men's program. So I've been able to see that and what has worked. So I've been a fan of the game, and I've studied programs, and you can study all you want, but I think at the end of the day, what you'll find is the teams that are winning are putting challenges out there, right? You can even look at just our Lemoyne men's program from last year. They certainly had a tough schedule. They had a couple overtime wins, and they went on to win the whole thing. So I keep going back to this quote. I think I've said it multiple times, but if you want to truly be the best team, you have to beat all these other teams and prove that you're the best. You're not just going to be able to walk away and just win because you're Lemoyne. You have to challenge yourself every day. Yeah,
and to your father, Steve, just, he's been head men's lacrosse coach at SUNY Cortland forever and a day. Just what, looking at the fact that he spent almost 2 decades coaching there, and he's there doing his thing, and you're here in Lemoyne, just what he's taught you over the years and what he's helped to bring you, because you mentioned him so many times, just what he's done, and the fact that you get to coach while your dad is coaching, which is such a unique experience that so few people get to really live in. You might grow up and say, hey, my dad coached when I was growing up, I got to learn from him, but you can call him up right now and say, hey, what are you seeing? I mean, obviously the games have different pieces and nuances, but the fact that you can actually grab from him in the here and now is pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel very fortunate. I feel bad for my mom and my sister sometimes because all we talk about is lacrosse. But, I'm very lucky if I'm having a struggle or a problem with whether it's a student athlete, it's something going on in the department, whatever it is, just part of the coaching career and job. I'm able to call him and say, hey, this is what's going on. Have you gone through this before? How can I handle this? What can I do? A lot of times he kind of talks me down through things because, it's my first time experiencing it where he's seen it happen a million times. So, I'm very lucky in that sense. I mentioned before, I was always watching games as much as I could going, my schedule was planned around the men's lacrosse games, so I just think it's a unique experience, as you mentioned, but I'm lucky that I can watch it. And, in terms of lessons I've walked away with, I think that relationship building piece is just really huge. My dad is a West Jenny alum and knows a lot of people in the area. We moved away for a while and then came back, but you have to build relationships with people, and whether that's specifically within your program, within the lacrosse community, or just the community in general, support matters and goes a long way, and it gets you the right kids coming to your program. So I think that's one big thing. I want to walk away and I think a coach has said this recently is, you want to be that coach that gets invited to weddings and to events when your student athletes have graduated and moved on and still have that relationship with them. So I think that's something that my dad has certainly had. And most recently he's gotten a ton of wedding invites, and I think that's so cool. That's something that I kind of aspire to want as well and want that to happen. So that relationship building piece just goes such a long way.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible. And, if your dad's got invited to all these weddings and all he talks about is lacrosse and you do too, then maybe you can be the plus one and be like, Mom, why don't you stay home for these couples?
Yeah. Hey, I've tried for a couple. I'm like, I think I should be invited to this too, I feel like I know this person just as well. So it's definitely happened.
A final note here, simply, why Lemoyne, in your opinion, and why are you proud to be a Dolphin?
Great question. I think we go back to that word community and family. I'm a little bit of a homebody. I didn't go too far away to go to SUNY Cortland growing up in Jamesville. So there's just such a sense of community. And I got that from day one at my interview process, walking on campus. We're able to build a family feeling, not only within our own team, within the department, and then with everyone on campus too. And our department has done a really great job in the last year, bringing in different people on campus to really support our team specifically. So, it's just such a great feeling being supported and being able to go support other teams on campus. And, with that small school feeling, we're able to do all that and still compete at a very high level. So, that's what makes me proud, is that we are small. We don't have every resource possible, but we make it work, and we compete and we win some games. And it's just a great feeling to be part of this department and to be a Lemoyne Dolphin.
That coming from Liz Beville here, the Lemoyne Dolphins women's lacrosse head coach, starting off the season strong and looking to continue that all throughout here 2022. Liz, I appreciate the time, appreciate having you here. I have respected and appreciated you from afar and had in the back of my head, I'm like, I got to get Liz on the show. I'm talking to her players. I'm talking to Bob about her, about everything that's going on. And so I'm so honored by the fact that you spent some time with us today here on Wake Up Call for Dolphin Dive. And I look forward to so many more conversations and seeing your team continue to grow and blossom and succeed. And very much value the fact that you are a homebody and you decided to stay in the area, because Lemoyne definitely needs you. And I know that the community appreciates what you're doing.
I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you so much for having me on.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market today and every Tuesday through Sunday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have their fantastic sandwiches as well as all of their awesome pizzas and homemade desserts, homemade breads, quinoa bowls, rice bowls. The Millhouse Market, and I can tell you this from having numerous things on their menu and all different parts of their menu, the hardest decision you will ever make at Millhouse Market is what you're going to order, because you have to say no to something to say yes to something else, or you can just do what I do and get something for later and then get something for now. So head out to the Millhouse Market today, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, and you can enjoy their general store with local products from local companies as they pay it forward and help out other companies in our community as well. And of course, you can go to their drive-through window, download the Millhouse Market app, grab your food, and go at the drive-through window. And make sure on the app as well you have contactless pay. You can tip on the app, and of course you can get directions to the Millhouse Market from the Millhouse Market app on the Apple app or Google Play Store. And their bistro menu changes every single week for indoor dining, so you can go inside and try something new every single week. From the mind of Rebecca Alford, the incredible owner and chef of the Millhouse Market. Worth the drive every time. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, always appreciate being here with you inside the Cafe Kubal studios. I want to thank Liz Beville for an incredible Dolphin Dive for this week for the #1 ranked nationally team here in a women's lacrosse for NCAA Division II, the Moyne College Dolphins. So big shout out to Liz and the entire team, and a big shout out to Moyne as always in our multimedia marketing partnership, getting to tell these incredible stories. Speaking of incredible stories, as we continue on in Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Popkins, somebody who always helped to get your popcorn ready is Mr. Otis Hill. When it came to sitting at a game and grabbing a big thing of kettle corn or popcorn, Ma and Pa's would have been perfect to sit there and watch Otis with. So make sure you go out there today. You can get it anywhere in the country by going to maandpaspopcorn.com. One of my favorite players to ever touch the basketball, one of my favorite players at Syracuse, and more than anything else, the crazy world that I live in where I get to call him a friend. Otis Hill is here with us. Otis, how you doing today?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well, man, and I got to tell you, I've missed you. I don't think it's fair. I think there needs to be a Dan and Otis show. Something needs to happen.
We definitely need to pitch that to ESPN so I can stop working so hard.
Yeah, we got to make sure we get something done here, because I would love the opportunity of having Otis more often, because you're just incredible. We always laugh, we always have a good time when you're here on the show, and of course your insight is also amazing, and I appreciate it so very much. So with that being said, Otis Hill with us, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum and a White Plains, New York native. So I'm here in New Jack City, here in the BK, Manhattan area as well, covering the ACC tournament and the Big East tournament respectively. What should I know about White Plains, and what should I know about your area?
Well, White Plains, man, it's kind of like a little paradise in Westchester County. You got some good athletes that came out of there. One of the best things about White Plains that I love, you get the city and you get kind of the suburbs mixed together. So, you can have a little go out time, and you can also have peace and quiet in the suburbs, and the city's only 30 minutes away. The train station's right there. White Plains is really a great place, and I loved growing up there, and sometimes I miss it from time to time.
Yeah, and where are you at now?
Right now, my wife and I decided to move to Kentucky. It was based off of a good job offer that we both received, and it's working out for the best, and I'm learning that I'm quietly a country boy deep down inside.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see pictures of Otis Hill riding horses and whatnot, and I'm like, watching you grow up, seeing you underneath bang bodies with Georgetown and Nova and UConn, I never pictured a horseman. I got to be honest with you on that.
It's funny, Dan, a lot of people, who weren't really close to me when I was younger didn't know that either, because my grandfather had a farm out in Virginia a long, long time ago. And I can remember being 15, 14, having to work on the farm and riding horses and, just being a country kid. And I think I missed it. And now that I'm back down south, I kind of love it.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing that you get to, get in touch and evolve as you grow. Otis, how have you evolved from a monster in the middle to who you are now? Because I feel like there's a teddy bear side of you. There's obviously the offensive lineman of Big East basketball side of you. So, give me the many sides of Otis Hill.
Oh, man, there's so many sides to me. My wife and I were talking about it a couple of nights ago, just that I was very blessed in the situation my parents put me in. We originally came from the Bronx, then we moved to Yonkers, and then we moved to White Plains, and my dad just saw that the city would not be a positive environment for me. So he wanted to move me out to somewhere where I could get a good education, be a kid, and focus on sports. And Pleasantville, New York was probably one of the best decisions my parents ever made, because it taught me that there are many sides to this world, and I was just living in one, and I had to learn how to be able to navigate through those sides in all aspects of life. So I love the fact that my parents raised me to be a kid of understanding of many different cultures and many different people.
Coming here from Otis Hill, Syracuse Orange men's basketball alum, inside the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And being a lover of many and appreciating people, at the same time, I imagine you still cringe when you see Georgetown. Am I correct?
Yeah, I try not to watch them too much.
So when we look back at this, I mean, I'm in this unique situation where I get to have the opportunity to, go to the Big East tournament and the ACC tournament. The irony of this is that I am going to the ACC tournament to cover Syracuse today, and then I'm going to the Big East tournament to cover like everybody else that Syracuse used to play. It's strange for me because they're all in the same city, but they're not together. So it kind of feels like I'm going to visit mom and dad because they got divorced. And I love them both, but I don't get to see them in the same room, and we don't get to have dinner together. That's how it feels today.
Right.
So bring me into, I mean, you and I have talked about it a lot, just like, I mean, how strange is it that the Big East tips off their tournament here at the Garden today, and then Syracuse is, a 20-minute subway ride, and they're here in the in the same area, but they're not going to be playing in the same tournament.
Dan, I really try to embrace Syracuse being in the Big East. There's some great teams in the ACC. I really try to embrace the Syracuse going to the ACC. Now, you got your Dukes, you got UNC, you got all those great teams, but I came from an era where the Big East was the Big East. We were the Premier League, and still to this day, it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't blame Coach. I don't blame Syracuse. It was, money rules the world, and it had to be done. But I just miss that old Big East. Syracuse playing Georgetown, Villanova playing Connecticut, Pittsburgh playing Connecticut. It was just such an amazing thing to be a part of, and to not see it anymore. I really miss it. And when I hear Syracuse going to the ACC tournament, sometimes I shake my head and I'm like, I can't believe we're still in the ACC league.
Yeah, and it's tough. And you got to play in some incredible games. We've talked about them in the past. Just when I say Big East and I say Syracuse, when you think about your playing days, what are like those things that are top of mind to you when I say Big East and I say Syracuse?
Well, when you say Big East and Syracuse, the reason I came to Syracuse was watching Sherm, Billy O, and Derek. I never forget when I was going through my whole recruiting process, and I think they were picking the McDonald's team. And they picked Serge Zwicker over me. I'm still upset about that. But that's another story, Dan. But I can remember watching Sherm throw 5 alley-oops. And I mean, the crowd was going crazy, and that it piqued my interest. I looked at them and I said, I want to be a part of that. And when you say Syracuse and Big East, you automatically think of Georgetown. It just, Thompson, Boeheim, Allen Iverson, Carmelo, Lawrence Moulton, Othello Harrington, Junkyard Dog, Otis Hill, John Wall. I mean, you could go Victor Page. You could go down the line of great players that played those games, and it was just a magical thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and it's hard for me because, I mean, I love the fact that I get to live in both worlds, but my question to the NCAA world is it okay that if Syracuse loses in the ACC tournament, they can join the Big East tournament and play that one? Like, that's my question. Like, can they be a play-in game? It's like, just see what happens today, against Florida State. I have them beating Florida State, but then they got Duke, and even Jim Boeheim admitted this year, he said, I think we can hang with every team, but Duke is better than us. And, I think Coach K is on a mission right now to win a national championship in his swan song. So I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But my thought process is, can Syracuse petition the Big East and be like, hey, you need another team? Like, we'll come out, we'll play Providence, we'll play Seton Hall, whoever you want. But I just, I think there should be this like opportunity if you lose in one tournament to jump to the other one. In Syracuse's case, just for me.
Right. You know what, Dan? I agree with you, too, because when I'm watching them, I tried to watch the Big East tournament last couple of years, and I just can't do it because my guys are not in it. And, my biggest thing, what I loved about when I was a freshman was we had the ACC Big East Challenge. I used to love it because we still stayed in the Big East, but we got to showcase and play against these other tough teams. And I wish there was some way that we could have kept it that way, whereas, play a tournament, weeks tournament or something like that, and not remove Syracuse from the Big East, because it's just, like I said, it's just, you can't think of the Big East and not think of Syracuse. It's impossible.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's so. I love the Big East, and I love the ACC. Like I love the treatment that the ACC has given me in a decade. They've been absolutely incredible, and the Big East, reaching out to them and just like having that connection. Like, hey Dan, yeah, we know your work, we know what you're doing. We know what you did when Syracuse is in the Big East. Like that was one of the greatest honors of my life to hear the Big East say, yeah, like after 10 years, we still remember your show, and we know what you did, and that means the world to me. And I know that the ACC tournament is not here every year at the Barclays, and so you can't do this every year. And so I'm spoiled this year, and I'm so grateful to God, and I'm grateful to the ACC and the Big East, and and everything that gives me the opportunity to be able to be a part of these. But it's so bittersweet because I love going to the Garden, and I really I'm coming to love the Barclays, but Syracuse still to this day, they don't fit the ACC in football. They don't fit the ACC in basketball. It just doesn't make sense. And a decade later, it still doesn't make sense. And I feel like now that UConn's back in the Big East, and I'm looking at these teams, I'm going, okay, Villanova, St. John's, UConn, Georgetown. I'm looking at this whole list, and I'm saying to myself, Seton Hall, and outside of like the Butler, the Creighton and Xavier, I'm looking at the Big East and I'm going, it looks like the band got back together and they just didn't invite Syracuse to play the drums.
Right. You're missing that one band member, and Syracuse is that piece. And it's just, it's hard, man. I still keep in touch with a lot of guys, and from time to time, Todd Bergen and I speak a lot on Facebook. Dave Patrick and myself and a couple other guys talk, and it's just the one thing that keeps reoccurring, the one word, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird and strange.
Yeah, it is. It's just weird. It doesn't make, and I tell people this all the time. I go, who's Syracuse's biggest rival in the ACC? And what do you think most people say?
Duke.
And who's Duke's biggest rival?
Not UNC.
And who's UNC's biggest rival?
That would probably be Duke.
Yeah. So if Duke's UNC's biggest rival, and UNC's Duke's biggest rival, and Syracuse's Duke's biggest rival, then like Syracuse is the mistress. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Definitely, Dan. Definitely. That's a great. Yes, we are. We are the mistress of the ACC.
I'm sure Jim will appreciate it. Take him aside and be like, Jim, I just called you the mistress. And be like, okay, all right.
He'd take it right now.
But, we look at this, we look at Syracuse, we look at this season, could go down, unless Jim Boeheim wins 3 games, could go down as Jim Boeheim's first losing season at Syracuse in 46 years, 45 straight winning seasons. What is going on in your mind when you watch this team?
You got a lot of guys that I think are good players. I really believe, I think Buddy is an excellent player. I think we have some core pieces, but I don't think we had that one aggressive go-to guy. Buddy was a good go-to guy, but he also needed a partner. Melo had Hakeem, John had me, Derek had Billy. You always need that, like that Robin. I tell people all the time, I loved being Robin because nobody paid attention to Robin, and by the time the story was over, I had 19 points, 10 rebounds, and we won the game. And I feel like Buddy really doesn't have that. Gerard could have been that, but to be honest, playing that point guard spot is difficult sometimes to be the second leading scorer. It's hard because you got to run the team, you got to get guys the ball, you got to be a coach out there. So I just think the team needed that one go-to, just somebody that could get them buckets all day, and I think that's the missing piece that we have. But I think the kids play hard. I think they love the game. I just think, like I said, I think we were just missing that one piece to make this team complete.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we can all be real about this. I mean, Joe Girard is playing out of position, and he's a shooting guard, but Buddy's a shooting guard. So Jim's got Buddy at shooting guard, but Joe should be a shooting guard, and that's the disconnect here is that you brought in a true point guard who can score in Kadari Richmond, and you left him on the bench, so he left, and now you have Symir Torrance come from Marquette to Syracuse and come home. And now you're not putting him out there. So, I mean, I think the reality is as long as Buddy's there, you're not going to have a true point guard situation because he doesn't want to keep Joe on the bench. And at the same time, you're playing Joe out of position. So I think, with all the criticism that Joe Girard III takes, I think people need to understand, like Marek Dolezaj, he's been playing in the wrong position pretty much his entire career at Syracuse.
Agreed. Definitely agree. I think Joe Girard is better at freelancing, getting the ball, trailing the screeners. But for some reason, Coach wanted to put him in the point guard, and he saw that was the best for his team. Now, me being a basketball person and dissecting the game, I would definitely switch Joe off to the shooting and make Buddy the three. Buddy could post up, Joe could shoot, they can play a two-man game, a pick-and-roll game. But, like I said, I'm not the coach of Syracuse.
No, and, go ahead, what were you going to say? No, I was just going to say that, I've said the exact same thing. I've legitimately said numerous times that, that Syracuse should be in a position where you have Buddy at the 3, you have Joe at the 2, and you have Symir out there dictating it. Symir said that that's what he wants to do. That's what he came to Syracuse to do. He came to be a true point guard. He came to help other people find his shot more than finding his shot himself. So you got Buddy who wants to shoot, you got Joe who wants to shoot, and you got a guy who wants to pass. It seems pretty simple, but he doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to move Buddy to small forward. He doesn't want to put him at the 3. And I've consistently looked at this and said to myself, this is what makes sense. I'm also, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about, hey, Jimmy coming to Syracuse probably had something to do with Quincy Guerrier leaving. And if somebody said, well, why? I would say, well, look at it simply as this. Quincy believes he's a 40-minute player. Quincy wants to go to the NBA. Quincy's already been to the Combine to kind of get a feel for things. So why would Quincy leave and go to Oregon? Because he realized Jimmy's coming in. I know Jimmy's going to play. There's no way in hell that I'm going to split time because I deserve to be out there all the time. That's what I think went down. With that being said, what would this team, it's a two-part question, what do you think this team would have been like with Quincy Guerrier? Would they have had that other scorer you were looking for? And then secondly, what are your thoughts on Jimmy? Because I want to be clear that even though Quincy left and Jimmy came in, I think Jimmy Boeheim arguably is the best fundamental basketball player on Syracuse right now.
Oh, hands down. He definitely is. He's a coach's kid. He don't have a choice. That's in his blood. I really believe if Quincy had stayed, he would have been that piece. I definitely agree. But like you said, Quincy didn't see his minutes being the same, and he wanted out. He wanted to go to the NBA, and I can definitely understand that, and I'm not mad at him for that. But I wish he did stay because, you know what? I might have called coach and be like, hey, we need to move Buddy to the 3 right now so we can keep this kid and have these guys all on the floor. But one thing I got to tell people is, and a lot of people hate that I back Boeheim. That's my coach. I'm going to back him all day. But one thing I can say about Bay is a student of the game. I can remember numerous times getting off the plane, coming back, driving past Manley Fieldhouse, going home, and his light is on in his office with the big screen on, watching tape. Yeah. So in saying that, I want people to understand Coach Boeheim is a strategist. Now, he saw the best position to put his son in for his team. Now, whether it was for the team or whatever, Buddy in that position, Buddy does well at the two. He really does. You would think he'd be a little bit slow, a bit off. But Buddy, like you said, I think his fundamentals help for a lack of athleticism on certain aspects. But back to Quincy, I think Quincy and Buddy on the floor together would have been dangerous.
Yeah, I think it would have definitely changed this team. I think it would have made them a tournament team, and I don't want to take away from anybody on the team. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been here. I'm just saying, in my opinion, this would have been a different team. And I think when you got two guys that are capable of scoring, you got Jesse Edwards getting better and whatnot, there's a difference here. Otis, before I let you go, I want to speak with you on the love you, hate you, Syracuse fan versus fanatic. The fans that show up at every game, and they're going to love you when you got 0 points, and they're going to love you when you got 5 fouls, and they're going to love you when you got 20 points and 10 rebounds. Then there's the fanatics that show up that hate their wives and hate their jobs, and they just want to come scream at somebody for 2 hours. So bring me into the fan versus the fanatic and why you probably, like many, get to a point on social media where you just have to not pay attention to what they're saying.
Oh, man, Dan, let me tell you. My freshman year, I don't know how many games we lost in a row. I think we lost like 4 or 5 games in a row. And I can just remember walking into the Dome and getting booed. I had never experienced anything like that in my entire life. And I remember my point guard at the time was Adrian Autry. And he grabbed me by my jersey. He said, "Big fella, don't let this bother you. Syracuse fans are one of the most passionate fans, and they just want to win. So when they don't win, they turn ugly." And at first, as a young kid, I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be on my back. You're supposed to be supporting me and this and that. And I realized what it is, like you said, you have your diehard fans that love you no matter what, and then you got the fanatics. And one of the things of being a Syracuse player is I wanted to please everybody.
Yeah.
I wanted the fanatics to be happy. I wanted the diehards to be happy, So it's just a thing, and the only thing that can make everybody happy is winning.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is like you're never gonna make the fanatics happy, and that's
Right.
I mean that's just how it is, and
Right.
but it's when you look at this team and you look back on this, and I tell you this roster, when I say Buddy Boeheim, Cole Swider, Joe Girard III, Jimmy Boeheim, Jesse Edwards, Barama Sidibe, Frank Anselm, Symir Torrance, Benny Williams. When I read that off to you, what do you think of? What are the first words that come to your mind?
A couple of guys that could possibly make the NBA. Yes. Wait, hold on. But I think that you got a bunch of workhorses. I don't think you got the big name superstar, but you got a bunch of workhorses who could, if they all fit their role together and had that one piece, I think the skies would have been the limit. But like I said, we had all the pieces when we went. As far as my team was concerned, John was a superstar, and we were all the pieces that fed in around him and made him better. And I think that's the missing thing with those guys you just named off. All excellent players. All could play somewhere else. But when you put them together, you still need that superstar to bring them up.
And you mentioned, speaking here with Otis Hill inside the Cafe Kubal studios on Wake Up Call, you mentioned that there's a couple guys on the current Syracuse roster that you believe are NBA worthy. Who are those two guys?
Honestly, a lot of people laugh at me. I think Buddy and I think Jesse Edwards. I think if scouts are looking at specific things and things that they want their guys to do, I think Buddy could definitely be a skill guy. He could be, what's the guy from Duke that's playing in the Clippers right now?
Are you talking about Luke Kennard?
Luke Kennard. I love Luke Kennard, and I watched Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard is sneaky athletic, and he's a very smart player, and he's skilled. I think Buddy fits that mold, and I think Buddy may be an inch bigger.
Yeah, well, if he's not, we're going to say he is. But, but and the thing is, I mean, this season, Jim Boeheim, we know Jim Boeheim runs Syracuse University. I don't care who the chancellor is. I don't care who the AD is. It doesn't matter. No disrespect to Kent Severud or John Wildhack, but ain't nobody runs Syracuse University other than Jim Boeheim. To know that he gets to play with, or he gets to coach his sons Jimmy and Buddy, some people had a problem with that. Some people think it's great. I know Jim doesn't care what anybody thinks because, this is a very rare situation. So what can you say about the fact that we got to watch a season with Jimmy and Buddy on the floor, not running around as little tykes, but actually playing in Syracuse uniforms? How surreal is it to you, and what do you think about the fact that we had 3 Boeheims on Syracuse this year?
I loved it. I really did. I loved that his sons were there. And, as a dad, there's probably no greater feeling than seeing your son at your alma mater that you coach at succeeding. I remember them when they were little kids, when they were little. And it's just amazing to see that coach has brought his boys in, and they've done well. A lot of people say, oh, he coached Buddy. Buddy's getting up. Let me tell you something. I put Buddy up against a lot of kids in college basketball, and I think Buddy will handle his own. So I don't think it was so much a bad thing. I think it was a really good thing for Syracuse and for Coach Boeheim's legacy.
Yeah, and I definitely, when I look at both of these guys, I'm like, listen, you don't have Buddy, you don't have Jimmy. I don't know if you win 9 games this year. So, that's just the reality of it all. But that coming from Otis Hill here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Otis, 2 things. Number 1, I love having you on the show. I never know how to say goodbye. And number 2, I really am serious. I know we said it a couple of years ago, but if we can carve out some time, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you can feel free to tell me no. I really am toying with the idea that you and I should do something more concretely consistent to keep you in the game and keep us, on the air together. I think there's something to be had here if you're open to it.
I'm definitely open to it. Definitely. Definitely open to it. So we'll definitely talk, and we'll try to see if we can carve out some time and get some airtime. Get me on there, and you can teach me some of your skills.
And you could teach me how to elbow somebody, knee somebody, and headbutt somebody without being called for a foul, Otis. That's what I need to know.
Yeah, I learned that a little bit too late in life, but I definitely can teach you.
That coming from Otis Hill. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, giving us the Big East, giving us Syracuse, and speaking on all things Orange. Otis, as always, I appreciate it. I send you and your wife and the family my love, and I look forward to talking with you very soon.
Same to you, my friend. You take care.
All right, you too. See you. That coming from Otis Hill one more time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. I really don't. I never know how to. I feel like Otis comes on the show and we just talk for 10 seconds. And then I'm like, gosh, I want, there's so many other things I want to get into. I want to break down the big men and all this stuff. But, that's for another day. That's why Wake Up Call lives another day, and that's why we're here with you every week by the grace of God. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal studios. When we come back, NC State, Clemson, Louisville, and Georgia Tech. I had the opportunity to do Q&As with all of the teams, and I will have an opportunity to share those with you coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. You're going to be hearing from Michael DeVoe and Jordan Usher of Georgia Tech. You're also going to hear from Josh Pastner, the head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. You'll hear from Mike Pegues, the interim head coach for the Louisville Cardinals. You'll also hear from Kevin Keats, the head coach of the NC State Wolfpack, and you'll hear from Brad Brownell, PJ Hall, and Nick Honor of the Clemson Tigers right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from ACC tournament play on site, on location. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing you the ACC tournament our way right after this fast break. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years.
and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbeville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and of course on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/livenowdt, where it's being shared. Inside the Cafe Kubal studios, Cafe Kubal here for you all throughout the week to fill up your cup right and get some of their treats and awesome sandwiches and everything that they have to offer. Support local at Cafe Kubal today on 3501 James Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at their Sweetheart Corner drive-through location in North Syracuse, and at their giant behemoth of a brown-striped building welcoming you into Manlius on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, where all roads converge into town. So make sure you check them out there as well. With that being said, it is time to jump into our final portion of this video on this edition of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', the four teams I had the opportunity to speak with coming into the ACC tournament for the first round of the ACC tournament. And you're going to hear from each of them from sounds of the ACC tournament. Very excited to be able to play these for you and have an opportunity to share each of these moments with you. And we're going to start things off with NC State, where I had the opportunity to speak with their head coach, Kevin Keats, about the team. And so this is what Kevin had to say about the squad when I spoke with him on Manny Bates.
Let's go front left.
Coach, just what you can say about how you talk about lessons learned for Manny Bates to have to watch this season. You could see at halftime, kind of through him, you got that feeling that how much he wanted to be out there all year. Just to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird because sometimes we think about ourselves so much. But we don't think about the guys who don't get a chance or the opportunity to come out and play. And so when you look at, it was 2 games this year that I look back at Manny, and the pain on his face was unbearable. One of them was when he played at Duke, and Mark Williams had 8 blocks. He was so frustrated because that was him. And then the other one was, I think, against Armando Bacot, who had 6 blocks, and he was so frustrated. He's another young man that has been through a lot. But when I say a lot, he's been an NC State guy. And he's been through a lot of trials and tribulations, and it's been very frustrating for him. And I pray and hope that he gets back to 100% healthy. Because he's a really good basketball player. He was becoming a great offensive player. I think everybody knows about how good he can be defensively. The way he finished the year last year, and then the work that he put in to increase his outside shot, even out to 3, shows what type of person he is. But I will say this about him. I've never had a kid that was injured that didn't ever miss anything. He was at every meeting. He was at every film session. He traveled with us everywhere we went. And that says a lot about Manny.
That coming once again from Kevin Keats, the NC State Wolfpack head basketball coach, speaking with me from the ACC tournament's first round here down at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Up next in the conversations that we have for you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from Sounds of the ACC Tournament, the next conversation that we jump into is my one-on-one conversation with the Clemson Tigers when I had the opportunity to have a Q&A with Brad Brownell, the head coach, PJ Hall, and Nick Honor about second chances. And this is what they had to say about that.
For each of you, just the importance of staving off obviously what NC State tried to do at the end of the game with second chance opportunities. Coach, just how important that was, and to each of the players, just what you could say about making sure that you stayed poised on offense and got those opportunities.
Nick, how about you start us off with that one?
Well, in practice, do a good job preparing. Our staff team does a wonderful job helping us trying as best as possible to be like those teams we're going up against. I think it just goes on as the season goes on. I think this was our 32nd game maybe, so as many teams we played, we've seen a lot of different styles. So just being poised was, I guess we could say the least of our worries because we've just been prepared.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. We have a tremendous scout team. We have a guy who's a wall kind of guy that got added on this year. He's higher motor I've ever seen in my life. And so we got to make sure that we always work on not giving a second chance for which in practice. That's a shout out to Dan Nassif. And so he does a great job preparing us. But going out there, you play 32 games, you learn to make sure that you can't give someone a second chance. That's kind of how basketball works. Maybe they get that second chance, then it's almost feels like it's guaranteed to go in and maybe throw something up. So you just got to limit those for sure.
NC State's going to make a run and come at you. They're playing downhill a little bit. You're trying to keep your guys aggressive and confident. I think that's important. Not as easy. I think we had a couple of plays where we got a couple of stops and then turned it over, kind of unfortunately. And that probably, opened the floodgates just a little bit late. But, our guys did a nice job. They handled the press, looked up the floor, made good enough decisions to keep separation and got just enough stops to keep them at bay. I thought we guarded the 3 well, and obviously did a great job with Smith. which was a big key for us in the game as well.
That coming from the Clemson Tigers once again, hearing from Nick Honor, PJ Hall, and then head coach Brad Brownell, and the sounds of the ACC tournament and my Q&As with the ACC teams in day one of the ACC tournament, a.k.a. the first round here in Brooklyn, New York at the Barclays Center. Next up in our conversations with these ACC teams in my coverage of the ACC tournament here in 2022 for men's basketball, we're going to flip to the Louisville Cardinals and get to my conversation with their interim head coach, Mike Pegues, and his thoughts on how the team performed. So this is what Mike had to say about a very interesting season for the Louisville Cardinals, who had to endure just a little while ago Rick Pitino being sent away, and then Chris Mack after that, after he had brought in a lot of success from Xavier. So this is what Mike Pegues had to say about the adversity of Louisville.
Coach, just what you can say about, obviously a unique year this season taking over, just how you feel the team has responded to you over time, and to see the way that they were able to close this one out, just what that means to you this late in the season.
It means a lot. I've said it a ton. Our guys have been through more than any other team in the country, probably more than any other team in the history of Louisville basketball. Unprecedented. The things that they've had to deal with. They're young men. We're adults. We can handle some adversity. They don't see as much of it that early in life. This group has seen a lot of it, and it hasn't been fair, but they haven't quit. They've stood in, they fought, and tonight was no different.
That's Mike Pegues once again speaking on the Louisville Cardinals and the fact that this team has never said die all season long, no matter what they've been through over these past couple of years. So big respect to the Louisville Cardinals for responding to adversity with plenty of heart, plenty of fight, and living to play another day. Georgia Tech brought it all the way down to the wire with the Louisville Cardinals trying to play another day after winning the ACC tournament last season in the 2020-2021 campaign for the ACC. Now I have the opportunity to share with you my conversation with Josh Pastner, the head coach, and then we'll move into my conversation with the players as well. Here's Josh Pastner speaking on Georgia Tech and what Georgia Tech truly is, in his opinion.
Coach, at one point down 27 with like 12-19 to go in the game, you got it down to 2 possessions. Just what you can say about the fight in this team and with these 2 gentlemen you've spoken so highly of, just Michael and Jordan, what they've done, not just in this game, but in their entire career at Georgia Tech to stay in games.
Yeah. No, that's one thing about this team is we've always, these 2 have led it, we have always fought. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what the score we've been down. But we have always competed and played our butts off no matter what the situation is. And that's a credit to these 2 young men. They're 2 team captains, along with Khalid Moore. He's not sitting here right now, but these 2 guys. And I really believe our team and our program mirrors Georgia Tech, the student body. I always say that. And because to be at Georgia Tech, first of all, to get a degree from Georgia Tech, to be a student at Georgia Tech, forget being an athlete, just a student. I mean, it's really hard, 1, to get into school, and 2, it's hard to even get through the 4 years because it's just such a rigorous curriculum, maybe the toughest in all of America. And that includes the Ivy League schools and everything else. And so I really believe our program mirrors the students, meaning that you've got to be blue collar. You got to have a grind mentality. You've got to have a toughness about you to be able to manage and be able to get through Georgia Tech academically. And so we mirror that. And that's why I tell people, like, even with our program, when people come to Georgia Tech, they don't instantly graduate, or usually it punches them in the mouth, takes them a couple of years, and then they graduate. And that's kind of how our program is. You get guys here, kind of get punched, and you got to develop, and then when they're older, then they start showing how good they are, and that's what these guys have been. Unfortunately, in the last 2 years, they've got older guys next to them, a lot of older guys. This year, they've had a lot of young guys, basically all freshmen, and sophomores next to them, and then so as those freshmen and sophomores get older, they'll be better, there'll be more of it. Unfortunately for those guys, they didn't have as many older guys with them. But what they show is what we mirror the student body at Georgia Tech. And that you have a blue-collar mentality, you have a work ethic. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You got to develop. You got to adjust to the school. And that's kind of how our team is. You know, of course, we want to win more. This year, we look at more wins, but the guys have really mirrored what Georgia Tech stands for. And that's blue-collar, tough, competitive, hard-nosed, high-character young people.
I love those words. Blue-collar, tough, hard-nosed, all the things that I think are imperative to being successful in anything. With that being said, we move on to the players, Michael DeVoe and Jordan Usher. I asked them about fight because you can't teach fight. So they both have it. You can't teach it. So I asked them, and what I mean by that is doesn't mean that people can't affect you in a positive way. What I mean by that is you can't make somebody fight for what they want. You can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. And both of these guys not only embody fight, I wanted to know where it came from for each of them. And Jordan Usher and Michael DeVoe spoke with me on where their fight comes from. And here is Michael starting things off.
First, Jordan and Michael, you can't teach fight. Yes, yet you both have it, and you show it all the time. Just what you can say about where your fight comes from individually. Michael, start with you.
I would say my mom. It's a big person in my life that's an influence in my life. Somebody I look at. She's been fighting her whole life. She's been fighting just to be able to maintain for me and do all the things for me. And the man that I am is because of her. So just that institute, that situation with that, that's somebody I just look at as just somebody that always is competing and always is fighting. So,
and I would say, I'm from Canton, Georgia, like a real. Now I would say it's a small town because I like my town and my city, but it's not the most booming like metropolis, like maybe Midtown or where we are in Brooklyn. So it's just a bunch of blue collar people. And my basketball team in high school before I transferred to Wheeler was a bunch of people that should not even be playing basketball. And the way that we had to win is we took a bunch of charges, and we had players that would just come in and foul hard. In our practices, you would get beat up, and it's just we never wanted to lose, and just having pride for where I'm from and being a blue collar dude. And I just got a lot of fight. I feel like I've been overlooked sometimes. I'll be first to say I felt like I was kind of mad. I didn't even get an honorable mention on the ACC award, whatever though. I'm just gonna keep fighting. That's how I do it. That's my spirit. I like to get to it. I feel like you can put me anywhere on the earth, and I'll find my way. Give me an hour or two. I'll find my way. And that's part of tech. I go to class with geniuses every day, and then I go play against Mike, and I get to bang heads against Mike. Come on, like. You can't ask for more. Like, if the fight's not even to do that, then you're in the wrong profession. You got to go get to it.
I love that. If the fight's not in you, then you're in the wrong profession. You got to go get to it. And what do I say all the time? That you will find out very quickly if you love something or if you think you love something. So, awesome words from Jordan Usher. As always, I expect nothing less. I was moved by him last year in their run to the ACC tournament and winning the ACC tournament, Georgia Tech, in the 2020-2021 season. So moving me then, and everything that Michael DeVoe and Jordan Usher and everybody brought to the team back then, and Josh Pastner. And I'll always remember that Josh said, because there was a bunch of us on the Zoom call, and we were trying to ask questions, and they said, all right, Josh, you're all set. And Josh was like, no, he goes, I see like 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like, I see people still on here. He's like, it's midnight. Who cares? We won the championship. Like, I want to be here for everybody. So we're going to answer everybody's question that's in the queue. And he waited for us and past midnight answered every single one of our questions, including mine. So I want to say thanks to Josh Pastner for that. Thank you for caring. And thank you for finding these amazing talents who are so much more than basketball players. Jordan Usher, after we did the interview session yesterday where you just heard these questions from, he came out and shook hands and gave hugs to people that have covered him. And he said, thank you, man, for covering, me my entire career. Like, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for thank you for everything you did. for me, and it says a lot about his character to come out and thank people that, you know, have cared enough to talk to him and be around him. And it shows exactly what I thought, is that he's so much more than a basketball player. Michael DeVoe as well, mentioning his mother and why, you know, when I asked him where does his fight come from, he said it comes from her. You know, it comes from seeing what she went through to make sure that I had a life for myself. So, you know, shout out to all of the wonderful people out there that help to make our lives a little bit better and a little bit easier and help us sleep a little bit better at night. My parents gave me a fantastic life, and I hope to do that one day for human kids, but I already tried to do it for Lily. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back to wrap up this portion of Wake Up Call and get set for our video with Mike Sofka right after this.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skinny Atlas, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skinny Atlas Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and on YouTube and on facebook.com/live-now-dt. From inside of the Cafe Cuball studios, I want to give a proud thanks to all of my fantastic guests today. Liz Beville for the Dolphin Dive, the women's lacrosse head coach at Moyne for the Dolphins, who are ranked number 1 in the nation this season, and she boasts of a 17-1 record over a COVID year where they were 4-0, and last season where they went 13-1 and won the 6th regular season title in the history of Moyne inside of the NE10 for the Southwest Division. Want to thank my guy Otis Hill, Syracuse Orange Basketball alum and White Plains, New York native, for being a part of the broadcast. And, of course, I want to thank all of the wonderful people at the ACC for allowing me the opportunity to be here for the ACC tournament, making, I think, a decade of covering the ACC, almost a decade of covering the ACC. So a big shout-out to Kevin Keats of NC State, Brad Brownell of Clemson, along with P.J. Hall and Nick Honor from Clemson. Thank you to Mike Pegues of Louisville and of Josh Passner, Jordan Usher, and Michael DeVoe of Georgia Tech for spending some time with me at the ACC tournament first round. So with that all being said, I want to thank you all for tuning into the broadcast and for being a part of the show. We're going to jump into our video with Mike Sofka here. You know, every Wednesday we have a second video for fantasy football and for all NFL talk, and so you don't want to miss out on that. Tune in live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. YouTube.com, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. After the shows go live, you can check our archive on Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond: Cafe Cuball, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Honda City of Liverpool, PB&J's Lunchbox, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard. And, of course, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Moyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every Wednesday for Dolphin Time, the first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call Live. You'll hear our AD and DT episodes with Athletics Director of Moyne, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, like today, you'll get stories from student-athletes, coaches, staff members, future Dolphins, and or alum, and very much appreciate having all of them on the broadcast. And I thank Liz Beville for today. You can check all of our specials out on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Make sure to click subscribe, and you can go to the Moyne tab on WakeUpCallDT.com and bookmark that for free. And of course, you can get more information by going to LeMoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride every Friday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Don't miss an opportunity to get to know your Pacers with Executive Director of Athletics Pat Murphy, head coaches, as well as student athletes from the Marywood University Pacer community. Pacer Pride airs between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. every Friday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can check our archives out of all of our past shows on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. And, of course, bookmark that and subscribe. And you can also bookmark the Marywood tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. Find out more information by going to MarywoodPacers.com. And thanks to the Pacers for all that they do for a very proud alum. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. The Bobcat Buzz airs for you every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We've had plenty of specials with the Bobcats. You can check them out by going to the BSC SYR page on wakeupcalldt.com and bookmarking that, saving that. It's BSC SYR for Bryan and Stratton College Syracuse. Click on the page to get all of our Bryan and Stratton content, as well as by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and clicking subscribe. For the Bobcat Buzz and finding out everything about the Bobcats with our specials, make sure that you come back here for student athletes, coaches, and administration every single month, celebrating the Bryan and Stratton Bobcats of Syracuse. And you can get more information about the Bobcats by going to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I bid you adieu, and I ask you to find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT for an NFL special in the Fantasy Football Power Hour on Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, and more. Make sure you go to facebook.com/LiveNowDT right now, and I'll talk with you all soon. Thank you for this edition from Brooklyn and from the beautiful, beautiful opportunities of the ACC and the Big East tournament here in the New York City area. This is Wake Up Call on the road. You are incredible. Thank you for tuning in inside the Café Kubal studios. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon. Be good.